Brought to you by WikiVidi documentaries. Richard Kuklinski. Richard Leonard Kuklinski was an American contract killer who was convicted of murdering 6 people. Although he claimed the number was over 100, he was associated with members of the American Mafia, namely the DeCavalcante crime family of Newark, New Jersey, and the 5 families of New York City. Kuklinski was given the nickname, the Iceman, for his method of freezing a victim to mask the time of death. During his criminal career, fellow mobsters called him the one-man army, or the devil himself, due to his fearsome reputation and imposing physique of 6 feet 5 inches and 270 pounds. Kuklinski lived with his wife and children in the New Jersey suburb of Dumont. His family was apparently unaware of Kuklinski's double life and crimes. By the early to mid-1980s, Kuklinski was involved in narcotics, pornography, arms dealing, money laundering, hijacking and contract killing. While his range of criminal activities expanded, he began to make mistakes. Although Kuklinski is claimed to have killed anyone who could testify against him, he got sloppy about disposing of his victims. Law enforcement began to suspect Kuklinski and started an investigation, gathering evidence about the various crimes he had committed. The 18-month-long undercover investigation led to his arrest in 1986. He was sentenced to life imprisonment in 1988, with an additional 30 years added on. After his murder convictions, Kuklinski took part in a number of interviews during which he claimed to have murdered from over 100 to 250 men between 1948 and 1986. Though his recollection of events sometimes varied. Though some have expressed skepticism about the extent of Kuklinski's alleged murders, police are confident in their belief that he was a serial killer who killed at least several dozen people, both at the behest of organized crime bosses and on his own initiative. 3 documentaries, 2 biographies, a feature film, and now a play have been produced on Kuklinski, based on his interviews and the results of the task force that brought him to justice. Early life. Richard Kuklinski was born in the family apartment on 4th Street in Jersey City, New Jersey, to Stanley Kuklinski, a Polish immigrant from Kawas, Masovian Voivodeship and brakeman on the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western Railroad, and Anna McNally from Harsimus, a daughter of Catholic Irish immigrants from Dublin, who worked in a meat-packing plant during Richard's childhood. Richard was constantly abused and rapped by his parents, especially by his father, who repeatedly beat him. His mother also beat him with broom handles and other household objects. She believed that stern discipline should be accompanied by a strict religious upbringing, and raised her son in the Roman Catholic Church, where he became an altar boy. Kuklinski later rejected Catholicism. He killed cats during his childhood. Richard had 3 siblings. His older brother Florian died of injuries suffered from abuse by his father. The family lied to the police, saying that he had fallen down a flight of steps. He had a younger sister, Roberta, and a younger brother, Joseph, who was convicted of raping and murdering a 12-year-old girl. When asked about his brother's crimes, Richard replied, "We come from the same father." Marriage and children. Before he became a contract killer, Kuklinski worked in a warehouse in New Jersey. He was married with 2 sons when he met Barbara Pedrusai. She claimed in a later interview that once, during an argument in a car, she told Richard she did not want to stay in the car, felt a pain in her neck and, when she touched it, felt and saw blood. Kuklinski told her, "That is an object lesson, never leave me." She claimed he stabbed her. Kuklinski then married Barbara and had 2 daughters and a son. Barbara described his behavior as alternating between good Richie and bad Richie. Good Richie was a hard-working provider for his family's needs, and an affectionate father and husband who enjoyed time with his family. In contrast, Bad Richie would appear at irregular intervals, sometimes one day after another, other times not appearing for months. Bad Richie was prone to unpredictable fits of rage and violence. He was physically abusive mainly to his wife, and emotionally abusive towards his children. Kuklinski's family and neighbors were never aware of his activities, instead believing that he was a successful businessman. Barbara suspected that Kuklinski was at least occasionally involved in crime due in part to his possession of large amounts of cash. but she never expressed these worries to him. Authorities described Kuklinski as unusual amongst both mobsters and killers. Apart from his violent temper, he had none of the vices common among criminals. He was not an abuser of drugs or alcohol, he was not a womanizer, he did not gamble. His motives for murder were also unusual, not fitting neatly into standard serial killer categories of lust murder, revenge murder, or angels of mercy, etc. Criminal career. Kuklinski claimed that he first killed in adolescence, allegedly using a closet clothes hanging rod to bludgeon a neighborhood boy who had bullied and teased him. By the mid-1950s, he had earned a reputation as an explosive pool shark who would beat or kill those who annoyed him. Eventually, Kuklinski claimed his criminal activity brought him to the attention of Newark's DeCavalcante crime family, who hired him for his first gangland slayings. Beginning in the spring of 1954, Kuklinski began prowling Hell's Kitchen searching for victims. According to author Philip Carlo, Kuklinski later recalled, according to Carlo, in contrast to Carlos' opinion, however, Kuklinski was interviewed by psychiatrist Park Dietz in 2002 at Trenton State Prison. The two spoke at length, in a videotaped interview, about Kuklinski's upbringing, family life, crimes, and other events in his past. He told the doctor that he wanted to know what events or mental irregularities made him able to perform the acts of which he was accused. After a lengthy discussion, the doctor cited nature versus nurture, stating that his professional opinion was that both played a part in Kuklinski's development into a hitman who could be functional in other aspects of life. The doctor elaborated that Kuklinski likely inherited antisocial personality disorder from his parents and that the abuse he claims to have suffered from his father reinforced violence, activities requiring a lack of conscience, and a lack of love. Dietz also stated that Kuklinski suffered from paranoid personality disorder, which caused him to kill people for minor slights or criticisms, often long after they occurred. Gambinos and Roy DeMeo. Kuklinski became associated with the Gambino crime family through his relationship with the soldado Roy DeMeo, which started because of a debt Kuklinski owed to a DeMeo crew member. DeMeo and several members of his crew were sent to intimidate Kuklinski and proceeded to beat and pistol whip him. After Kuklinski repaid his debt, he continued working with the DeMeo gang, earning their respect for continually earning cash and gradually drifting into other criminal activities. After Kuklinski paid back the money he owed, he began staging robberies and other assignments for DeMeo and the Gambinos, one of which was making unauthorized copies of pornographic tapes. In 2011, former Gambino associate Greg Buccaroni alleged that Kuklinski often traveled between Philadelphia, New Jersey, and New York handling a variety of concerns involving the Gambinos' pornography establishments, including trafficking illegal pornography, debt collection and murder for hire on behalf of DeMeo and Robert D.B. DiBernardo. According to Kuklinski, DeMeo took him out in his car one day and parked on a city street. DeMeo then selected a random target, a man walking his dog. He then ordered Kuklinski to kill him. Without hesitating, Kuklinski got out, walked towards the man and shot him in the back of the head as he passed by. From then on, Kuklinski was DeMeo's favorite enforcer. Kuklinski would claim to have killed numerous people over the next 30 years. Lack of attention from law enforcement was partly due to his ever-changing methods. He used guns, knives, explosives, tire irons, fire, poison, asphyxiation, and even bare-handed beatings, just for the exercise. The exact number has never been settled upon by authorities, and Kuklinski himself, at various times claimed to have killed more than 200 people. He favored the use of cyanide, since it killed quickly and was hard to detect in a toxicology test. He would variously administer it by injection, by putting it on a person's food, by aerosol spray, or by simply spilling it on the victim's skin. One of his favorite methods of disposing of a body was to place it in a 55-gallon oil drum. His other disposal methods included dismemberment, burial, or placing the body in the trunk of a car and having it crushed in a junkyard. He also claimed to have fed living human beings to huge cave rats in Pennsylvania and recorded footage in order to collect torture contracts and for convenient disposal. Upon viewing one of these tapes, DeMeo reportedly could not finish watching and said Kuklinski had no soul. Kuklinski earned the nickname, the Iceman, because of his experiments in disguising the time of death of his victims by freezing their corpses in an industrial freezer. Later, he told Carlo that he got the idea from fellow hitman Robert Prong, nicknamed Mr. Softy, who drove a Mr. Softy truck to appear inconspicuous. Prong taught Kuklinski the different methods of using cyanide to kill his victims. Kuklinski also claimed to have purchased remotely detonated hand grenades from Prong. Prong allegedly asked him to carry out a hit on Prong's own wife and child, which would have been against Kuklinski's stated code against killing women and children. In 1984, Prong was found shot to death in his truck. In the book The Iceman, Confessions of a Mafia Contract Killer, Kuklinski claimed to know the fate of Teamsters union boss Jimmy Hoffa. His body was placed in a drum and set on fire for a half hour or so. Then the drum was welded shut and buried in a junkyard. Later, according to Kuklinski, an accomplice started to talk to federal authorities, and there was fear that he would use the information to try to get out of trouble. The drum was dug up, placed in the trunk of a car, and compacted to a 4x2-foot rectangular prism. It was sold, along with hundreds of other compacted cars, as scrap metal. It was shipped off to Japan to be used in making new cars. Independent experimentation and decline. By the 1980s, after 25 years of working as a hitman for the Mafia, Kuklinski started his own crime ring, and devised new ways to profit from killing people. The case of pharmacist Paul Hoffman was typical of Kuklinski's methodology. Hoffman hoped to make a large profit by illegally purchasing large quantities of tagamet, a popular drug used to treat peptic ulcers, at low cost to resell through his pharmacy. On the afternoon of April 29, 1982, Hoffman met Kuklinski at a warehouse Kuklinski leased to buy the tagamet for $25,000. After Hoffman gave him the money, Kuklinski told him that the deal was a ruse. Kuklinski placed the barrel of his pistol under Hoffman's chin and pulled the trigger. The shot did not kill Hoffman, so Kuklinski tried to shoot him again, only for the gun to jam. Kuklinski then resorted to killing Hoffman by beating him to death with a tire iron. Kuklinski then placed Hoffman's corpse inside a 50-gallon drum, and brazenly left it on the sidewalk outside a motel behind a luncheonette called Harry's Corner. Kuklinski monitored the drum for some time, sitting in Harry's Corner every day to listen for talk amongst the patrons that would indicate the body's discovery. After what Kuklinski related as a long time, he noticed one day that the drum was no longer there, but could not discern any details about its fate. From listening to the patrons, Gary Smith discovered. Kuklinski's first major mistake was discovered on December 27, 1982, when the decomposing body of 37-year-old Gary Smith was discovered under the bed in room 31 at the York Motel in North Bergen, New Jersey. Smith had been a collaborator of Kuklinski's who often ran car theft scams with him and another man, Daniel Deppner. Kuklinski and Deppner killed Smith on December 23 by feeding him a cyanide-laced hamburger at the York Motel. When Smith took longer to die from the cyanide than Kuklinski expected, he grew impatient and had Deppner strangle Smith with a lamp cord. When Deppner's ex-wife, Barbara, failed to return with a car to remove the body, they placed it in between the mattress and box springs. Over the next 4 days, a number of patrons rented the room. And although they thought the smell in the room was odd, most of them did not think to look under the bed. According to forensic pathologist Michael Barden, Smith's death would likely have been attributed to something non-homicidal in nature had Kuklinski relied solely on the cyanide. However, the ligature mark around Smith's neck proved to investigators that he was murdered. Daniel Deppner's murder. Deppner's body was found on May 14, 1983, when it was preyed on by a turkey vulture. A bicyclist riding down Clinton Road in a wooded area of West Milford, New Jersey, spotted the bird and found the corpse. Kuklinski had put the body inside green garbage bags before dumping the body there. Investigators noted that the site of the body's discovery was just over 3 miles from a ranch where Kuklinski's family often went riding. Medical examiners listed Deppner's cause of death as undetermined, although they noted pinkish spots on his skin. He was the third business associate of Kuklinski's to have been found dead. Louis Masgay discovered. On September 25, 1983, Kuklinski made another significant mistake. When Louis Masgay was found dead near a town park off Clausland Mountain Road in Orangetown, New York, with a bullet hole in his head, Kuklinski, as he had done many times before, attempted to disguise Masgay's time of death by storing his corpse in an industrial freezer for 2 years. This time, Kuklinski did not allow the body to thaw completely before he dumped it. The Rockland County medical examiner found ice crystals inside the body on a warm September day. Had the body thawed completely before discovery, the medical examiner stated that he probably would have never noticed Kuklinski's trickery. This discovery helped authorities to deduce that Kuklinski used a freezer as part of his modus operandi and led them to give Kuklinski the nickname Iceman. Eventually 5 unsolved homicides, including the deaths of Hoffman, Smith, Deppner, Masgay, and George Maliband, were linked to Kuklinski, because he had been the last person to see each of them alive. State and federal manhunt. In 1985, a division of the New Jersey Criminal Justice Department created a task force composed of federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, including New Jersey Attorney General's Office and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, dedicated to arresting and convicting Richard Kuklinski. The task force, nicknamed Operation Iceman, based its case almost entirely on the testimony of undercover agent Dominic Pelifran and the evidence built by New Jersey State Police Detective Pat Kane, who began the case against Kuklinski 6 years earlier. Starting in 1985, Detective Kane, an ATF Special Agent Dominic Pelifran worked with Phil Salamine, a close friend of Kuklinski, to get Pelifran close to Kuklinski. Pelifran posed to Kuklinski as a fellow hitman, Dominic Michael Provenzano. Pelifran told Kuklinski he wanted to hire him for a hit, and recorded Kuklinski speaking in detail about how he would do it. Kuklinski claims in the HBO interview that Salamine was the only friend he did not kill. On December 17, 1986, it was arranged for Kuklinski to meet Pelifran to get cyanide for a planned murder, which was to be an attempt on a police detective working undercover. After being recorded by Pelifran, Kuklinski went for a walk by himself. He tested Pelifran's cyanide on a stray dog and saw it was not poison. Suspicious, Kuklinski decided not to go through with the planned murder and went home instead. He was arrested at a roadblock 2 hours later. A gun was found in the car, and his wife was charged with trying to prevent his arrest. Prosecutors charged Kuklinski with 5 murder counts and 6 weapons violations, as well as attempted murder, robbery, and attempted robbery. Officials said Kuklinski had large sums of money in Swiss bank accounts and a reservation on a flight to that country. Kuklinski was held on a $2 million bail bond and made to surrender his passport. In March 1988, a jury found Kuklinski guilty of 2 murders, but found that the deaths were not proven to be by Kuklinski's own conduct, meaning he would not face the death penalty. In all, Kuklinski was convicted of 5 murders and sentenced to consecutive life sentences, making him ineligible for parole until age 110. Statements made during interviews. During his incarceration, Kuklinski granted interviews to prosecutors, psychiatrists, criminologists. The first writer known was Pavle Stanimirovic, and many television producers spoke to him about his criminal career, upbringing, and personal life. 3 documentaries, the last featuring interviews of Kuklinski by forensic psychiatrist Park Dietz, aired on HBO in 1992, 2001 and 2003. Writers Anthony Bruno, Michael Wells Jr., and Philip Carlo, Pavle Stanimirovic, Burl Bearer each wrote a biography of Kuklinski. In one interview, Kuklinski claimed that he would never kill a child and, most likely, wouldn't kill a woman. However, according to one of his daughters, he once told her that he would have to kill her and her 2 siblings should he happen to beat her mother to death in a fit of rage. At the same time, his wife Barbara has stated that he never hurt the children. However, she says that he frequently beat her up, breaking her nose several times. According to the New York Times, Kuklinski tried to smother her with a pillow, pointed a gun at her and tried to run her over with a car. Attesting to the randomness of his crimes and violence, Kuklinski confessed he wanted to use a crossbow to carry out a hit, but not without testing its lethality first. While driving his car, he asked a stranger for directions and used the crossbow to shoot the man in the forehead. Kuklinski described that the arrow went halfway into his head. In a 1991 interview, Kuklinski recalled one of the few murders he later regretted committing. In 2003, Kuklinski pleaded guilty to the 1980 murder of New York Police Department Detective Peter Calabro. He received another sentence of 30 years in the Calabro murder, in which Gambino crime family underboss Sammy "The Bull" Gravano was also charged. Kuklinski said he parked his van on the side of a narrow road, forcing other drivers to slow down to pass. He lay in a snowbank until Calabro came by at 2 a.m. then stepped out and shot him with a shotgun. He denied knowing that Calabro was a police officer, but said he more than likely would have murdered him anyway. Kuklinski was kept in Bergen County Jail in NJ in solitary confinement. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?